What's going on, y'all? This is Randy Paddock here. It's Bull Chat episode 4. Bull Chat with Randy Paddock episode 4. It's Sunday, November 5th. Hopefully everybody's having a good Sunday. Again, the Chicago weather is topsy-turvy, so this week it's a little rainy and shitty, but I guess it's fall, so that is par for the course. So it's kind of funny. I'm doing this on Sunday today. I guess I'll get into that in a minute, but it was funny. I was driving today and I heard Purple Rain on the radio today, little Prince, Purple Rain, R.I.P. Prince. But it was kind of funny. I was thinking, I've never been the type of guy to put on the tunes when it's time to get intimate with a woman and men and make. I don't know if those people still exist. I remember it was that way, in the movies all the time back in the day. It was putting on the R&B hits and you knew it was go time. Never really been like that. It reminds me of that one Chappelle show though, when they do Trading Spouses and he plays the white guy and they're gonna go have some sex and she puts on some music and he's like, "Do you mind turning down the R&B music? I'd like to hear you breathe." Made me think of that. But anyway, I was listening to Prince, Purple Rain, and I get it. I do get it. I get why that is a song built for making love. So I can see why people do that. I was listening and okay, I think I'm 33 years old. I think I get it. Why people do those things. Will I do that ever? Fuck no. But I get it. So, Prince, thanks for leaving your mark on the planet. And I get you, man. I knew what you were up to. So that was just a random thought I had today. So there's a few things I want to cover today. So obviously, it's just some sports stuff that was going on. A lot of big sports stuff happened this last week. So obviously the World Series, man, what a series. That was awesome. I've been pretty lucky, or we, I guess, in general, as if you're a baseball fan, have been pretty lucky these last 2 years. Some pretty historic, cool baseball has been happening. Obviously, last year with the Cubs winning, but this year, the World Series was pretty awesome, even though the Cubs weren't in it. But after I watched that World Series, it just showed that the Cubs did not deserve to be in it. I mean, they would have got their asses waxed by anybody. You know what I mean? At that point in time, that Dodgers team was nasty, and that Houston team was great too. And obviously, you knew Houston was going to win. And if you don't believe in, sports gods, you got to, right? Anytime there's, a tragedy, that team always wins. It was 9/11, the Patriots win the Super Bowl, right? Michael Jordan's dad gets murdered, the Bulls win the championship, right? Brett Favre's dad dies. He has, the best game of his life. The Cubs win the World Series last year, right? All this crazy shit with these hurricanes happen in Houston, and boom, there you go. Houston wins the World Series, and that's cool, man. I think that, when in doubt, I think you can always look to sports, and if people think that sports don't mean shit, I don't know, I think that they should pay attention, that there's a lot going on with sports, and it was a feel-good story, man, and I just love baseball, and I'm glad that baseball numbers are up, the World Series numbers are up, especially with all this shit going on with the NFL. Baseball it's America's pastime, man, and I think for a while there, it was kind of falling by the wayside, because it's slow or boring or whatever. But I hope that shit never goes away. It's just too good. And I think every person can remember, I think why the World Series does well and why people like it is you can always remember baseball as a kid, man. I mean, that was a sport every kid played. You get in Little League, right? And then, excuse me, watching baseball, it always reminds me of my grandpa, you know what I mean, who was an important guy in my life, who, was my hero. And I just remember when I was a little youngster, him taking me to Wrigley Field, and he was old school. He would get the program. He'd fill out the box score, with a pencil and shit like that. And, it was very special to me when the Cubs won last year. I was thinking about him a lot. But just every time I'm watching baseball, I kind of remember that feeling and why it's such a great sport. And I was really glad the World Series was awesome this year, you know what I mean? So hopefully that trend continues. I'll tell you what trend's not going to continue for me. I'm giving up on fantasy football. I think so. Like, it's getting to the point where I don't know why. Like, I like football. I know a lot about it. I know players. I know stats. I fucking suck at fantasy football. It's to the point where it's like, it's a curse. If I pick you, you're going to be in trouble. Like, my first round picks always get hurt. To this year's Odell Beckham. You know, I remember the year I picked Adrian Peterson first. The year he was like whipping kids with sticks. All my running backs always get hurt every year. At this point in time, if you get in a fantasy football league with me, I'll give you the money. We can go out back. You can kick me in the nuts, and we'll call it even because I suck. And it's like disheartening to even set the fucking to set the lineup because I know it's going to get smashed. Because it also seems that every time I'm playing somebody, they have some random asshole that has the game of his life against me. So I think I'm over it. Like, until further notice, you know, I set the team today. We'll see. I got Drew Brees going. I'm sure he'll throw like shit. I don't know, but I think I'm over it, man. It's analytics, which is cool. It makes you watch, but I'd rather drink beers, you know, and watch the Bears, and just put that money towards a bar tab as opposed to giving it to someone. But I think it's over. I don't know. For those people, if you're really good at fantasy, like, drop me an email or shoot me a line, let me know and hook me up because it is getting very disheartening for me, and I think I'm done with it. I'll tell you what I'm not done with, though. It's kind of funny. So I was going to do this yesterday, I'm sorry, which would have been Saturday, but then I ended up having to do some stuff, and I got sidetracked, and I didn't do it. And I'm really fucking glad I didn't because I got a chance to talk about that UFC card, UFC 217. I'm going to go ahead and give that 2 claps and a Ric Flair. Woo! Because that shit was awesome. I mean, that card was super good. I was looking forward to it anyways. I mean, they stacked up 3 championship fights on it. And a bunch of people that I like. I like Cody No Love. I like TJ Dillashaw. You know, Joanna Champion's like my favorite as of now. And man, that card delivered, and it was fucking crazy. Like, I don't think it's probably ever happened before where all of the champions that went into that night as champions left not as champions. And those were some good-ass fights, man. I mean, everybody was putting everybody out. There was no decisions. It was nothing but finishes. And it was awesome. So, obviously, I mean, I'm going to work backwards because I was the most devastated by Joanna Champion and Thug Rose. But, so it was Bisping, St. Pierre. George St. Pierre, man, like, looked good. And I remember I hated George St. Pierre. I didn't hate him because he was awesome. I was just like a Matt Hughes fan. And back in the day when they had that rivalry, when they were both like the welterweight champions beating the shit out of everybody, I used to always get bummed out with George St. Pierre because I knew he had Matt Hughes' number. And I love Matt Hughes, like just the farm boy. He was kind of a dick. You know, he was just body slamming everybody everywhere and ground and pounding the shit out of people. But George St. Pierre, I feel bad for guys like Frank Trigg, who was like coming up in the welterweight class during that time when those two sons of bitches were roaming because you just didn't have a shot. You were going to get your ass kicked by Matt Hughes, and then you're going to get your ass kicked by George St. Pierre, and that's just what was going to happen. But George St. Pierre came back after 4 years off and, you know, moved up to 185, and he fought Bisping, and that was a good fight, man. It was better than I thought it was going to be. Like, there was a point in time, like, St. Pierre was in Bisping's guard, and, you know, Bisping was just fucking him up with elbows and just cutting the shit out of him. He's bleeding everywhere. And then, you know, George St. Pierre kept his cool, and he ended up, you know, getting on him, you know, dazing him, getting on it, and then gave him a little room, and then took his back and choked him out. And God bless Bisping's soul. There's no way. I mean, he's too much of a cocky asshole to ever tap out, so he didn't. So George St. Pierre put him to sleep, and that was pretty sweet. And then the bantamweight fight with Cody No Love and TJ Dillashaw. I mean, I was probably looking forward the most to that one. I mean, excuse me, that's just a good storyline. Like, you know, just obviously the team alpha male thing, them hating each other. Plus, both those guys are really good. They're fast, like they're competitive, fucking people up, you know. And it was a good fight. At the end of the first round, Cody knocked him down, got on him a little bit, you know, and then TJ got his shit together, came out in the second round, landed a head kick, dropped him. Cody No Love gets up, and then they get into a wild exchange. TJ drops him again, and then, you know, puts him out, you know, and then Cody jumped right back up after the fact, but he knocked him out. It was good. And who knows, man, like maybe, if the first round was like 12, 13 seconds longer, it could have went the other way because, Cody was on top of him and TJ was days after the first round, but that's just not the way it went down. So that was a good fight too. And then Joanna Champion and Thug Rose, man, like who the fuck saw that coming? Like Joanna's awesome. And I think she's really cool. And she's a scary, scary, crazy person. And then the fucking weigh-ins and all that to that fight was crazy because Thug Rose looks like the girl, I forgot what number she's named or whatever because I haven't binge-watched the new Stranger Things, but she looks like that little girl, and she just stands there dead-faced all the time. Looks like Pennywise the Clown got her with the fucking deadlights, man. She's just, like, standing there. And then in the weigh-in, Joanna's going nuts, and she's telling her the boogie woman's going to get her, and then Rose just sitting there saying the Lord's Prayer. It was like fucking crazy shit. Anyhow, they're fighting, doing whatever, and Rose knocked her kind of early and rattled her, and then she just dropped her ass, man. Like, dropped her ass good, like right on the butt and got on top of her, started beating her face in and made her tap out via strikes. Like, she didn't even, like, knock her cold. Like, she was just getting her skull bashed in so bad that she tapped out. And that was that. And it was fucking wild, man. So it was a really good fight. Wonder Boy fought, which was cool, and then Johnny Big Rig got his ass kicked. No surprise there, but I was very impressed with that fight, especially because the UFC's got so much content now that it, like, making fight cards kind of sucks, and watching it can get kind of lame. But they did a good job with that one. But here were some takeaways I got from that UFC. I was looking at Cub Swanson's Twitter, and I think he nailed it. He said UFC 217 is, to sum it up, it's he did cocky champion, smaller than sign, calm challenger. And I think that's what it was. And I talked about this, I don't know, one of the other podcasts ago. You think my memory would be better. This is the fucking 4th episode. So I don't know, between 1 and 3, I was talking about shit talking in MMA and how it's getting out of control. And I think there's something to be said about that. You know what I mean? It's just all these people. It's Conor McGregor's fault, in a way, because he's really good at it, and then he get himself these money fights and put himself in the right position. So now I think all these guys think they got to sell fights, so they're just talking. And I think there's an old school mentality, and I think it might be coming up because there's so many people talking so much shit that it might be like a throwback, like fanny packs or acid wash jeans or bell bottoms, like a throwback that comes back. I think there's something to be said about just shutting the fuck up and doing your job. And, that's what it was. The loudest guys got fucking dropped this time. You know what I mean? And so I think I like that. Don't get me wrong. I like some shit talk, and Conor McGregor's one of my favorites, and I like watching him do his thing. But like when everyone tries to do it and they suck, I'd rather they just shut up and go in there and fight. So, maybe with some new champions, that kind of stuff's happening. Another thing Conor McGregor did that I like is he opened up kind of the door to jump around weight classes, which can improve some fights. TJ was talking about dropping down to fight Mighty Mouse. That would be an awesome fight, so I hope that happens. George St. Pierre should get the fuck out of middleweight. That division sucks, and drop back down to 170, fight Tyron Woodley. That fight would be awesome. And then Brendan Schaub called it. He's saying George St. Pierre, Conor McGregor, Super Fight 2018. I bet that happens. He's usually right about that stuff. So the thing about it, though, too, which I liked, is all these cocky guys and all this shit talking, they were all very humble in defeat. And I think that there's something to be said about that, too. Anyone could win and this and that, but, like, losing, especially in a fight, like, and getting finished, not just, getting a decision, but, like, getting your ass knocked out or getting put to sleep and showing that person respect and after the fact, I thought that was really cool. And I'm really glad that happened. I think that's a good thing for people to see is sometimes they just see all this shit talk and all this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, it's martial arts and it's about respect. And these people are going into a cage to fist fight each other. 99% of the population is terrified to get in a physical altercation. And don't get me wrong, it'd be saying otherwise because everyone's a fucking hard ass, and especially if you go to Lincoln Park at 2 a.m., there's a bunch of them. But, like, most people are afraid of violence, and they should be. It's a scary thing. And these people are choosing to go be violent with one another where there's no help. You know what I mean? Again, that guy at Duffy's at 2 a.m. is also a badass because he's got 10 of his buddies there and he can't wait to kick you in the face when you fall on the ground. These motherfuckers are going in to battle, you know what I mean? So just seeing that respect with one another after the fact and grace and loss, that's a life lesson, man, because you get your ass kicked in life all the time, and like it's how you react, how you come back, and how you carry yourself. And I was very pumped to see that all those guys did that well. And Thug Rose, man, she was talking about like her post fight stuff was awesome. All her message was I'm normal, I'm nothing special, and just about people like being good human beings to one another, man. And I think that's awesome. And people are just kind of not. And I see it a lot on the day to day, especially, you know, in where I live, you know, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk a little bit today is about Chicago, man. And like, just, it's the city of savages, you know what I mean? And I think that people forget to be humans to one another sometimes. And specifically Chicago, like driving and the infrastructure of the streets and what goes on and people's thought process in there. And if you'd ever drive in the city, you know what the hell I'm talking about. And if you never have, once you drive in the city, you'll know what the hell I'm talking about. But I see this shit on a day to day, man, and it makes me laugh and it's crazy. First of all, like the Chicago streets, like fucking suck. I mean, like I'm live on Cicero and this is a long street. And it is like beat to shit. And it's kind of funny. You can always tell like the infrastructure of a city and like when you're getting into bad parts of the city because just like the amount of fucks given dramatically reduces. So like coming from where I live, if you leave and you're going south on Cicero, like you start like getting into the hood a little bit and like you could just tell like the road just even falls apart more, bigger potholes, no one gives a shit. But like, man, it's like a pain in the ass. It's like driving a roller coaster. I don't know if any of you guys remember. I might be dating myself, but at Great America back in the day, there used to be this ride. It was called Rolling Thunder. I don't know if any of you guys remember that, but Rolling Thunder was awesome. It was like, I don't know what the hell it was, but it would like clink around a bunch of shit and shake a lot, and then it would go into like a luge, and it would like kind of like go on like a slide type of thing. I don't know. I'm probably doing a shit job describing it, but that's what it feels like when you're driving on like Cicero and some of these other roads. There's so many potholes and everything's so chewed up, so like just fucking cranking shit, man. It is crazy. And these sons of bitches in Chicago, like the government takes so much money, you know, and taxing on everything and buying parking stickers and shit like that. Like, I don't know what the hell they're doing with it, but they for sure aren't putting back into the streets. So like, I see this on the day to day. So buyer beware, man. If you're driving around Chicago, make sure you got air in your tires because that shit is going to get tested, son. And it is crazy. And it made me think about like, so they use boots a lot. I don't know if y'all are familiar with a boot, but what a boot does is they put like this like boot, it's what it's called. It's like this thing on your car tire so your car can't go. But here's the thing that makes me scratch my head. So what they do is like, so let's say, I don't know, by where I live, there's like parking permits. Like you're not supposed to park in a certain area unless you have a certain number permit on your sticker, both which cost. So you got to pay the city for a sticker, then you got to pay again for a parking permit. So if you park in a parking permitted area without said permit, you're going to get a ticket, okay? And they give you like $50 or $100 tickets, and these guys are like on that shit. Like I'm talking, you park for a minute, boom, ticket time. But so what they do is, I don't know how many tickets it takes, but after X amount of tickets, they put a boot on your car. And here's where it gets me scratching my glorious, shining, bald dome is, well, what the fuck is the point in that? Because now that car can't move. And that son of a bitch could leave it there for who knows how long. So the problem is that it's in a parked area where it's not supposed to be, which means that there's somebody with a permit who pays the goddamn city for it that can't park there because there's an asshole that is. And then now there's something on his tire so he can't even move. So how the hell does that help the problem? All that does is it leaves that asshole there so the guy that pays the city all this money can't park anywhere. Like, why not tow him? Like, move him from the situation. I don't know. Like, I'm pretty basic caveman, but like, that shit just makes more sense to me instead of putting a boot on somebody's car and having them sit there. like just move them, and then the guy that has the parking pass that he pays the city for can actually park back by his house. But I don't know. Maybe that's just too simple. I couldn't tell you, but it's crazy. And then what's even crazier, man, and I'm not even going to get into Uber drivers and all that bullshit. I already went into that, and that just makes my blood boil, so I don't get into it. But like people driving, and they just do not give a fuck. And it's kind of funny, man. Like I don't know. Like you gotta laugh if you're on edge driving around Chicago, or like you get annoyed easily, like you're gonna get into like an altercation just because people do not give a shit about nothing out here when they're driving, and to the point where like you got to take it with a grain of salt, where it's hilarious, because if you take it personal or you get pissed off, like you're just gonna have a bad day every day, because it seems that everybody's time is the most important, so they do not give a shit about nothing. So I'm talking like, and this is everybody, man. This is like top down. This is people driving. This is the homeless folks asking for money in the streets. This is pedestrians. No one cares. It's comical. So in terms of drivers, like there's this 4-way stop by my house, and no one ever stops. Me and Leroy almost got clipped the other day. And like this guy looked at me like I was a dick because I was using the crosswalk because he didn't want to stop at the stop sign. So like in these like residential areas where it's like one-way streets, parking on both sides, like it's kind of a thin spot, people flying through it, not stopping at stop signs is fucking nuts, man. And then like not looking where they're turning. And then there's this crazy phenomenon here. And it's crazy. So one, they like, if you put your blinkers on, people think that they're like all good. So I can put my car wherever the fuck I want, but if I put my blinkers on, you have to understand that I'm in the right here, and it's all good. I don't know who the hell started that shit, but good on you, mate, because like that is like law around here, and that's what people do. They'll double park. Blinkers are on. I'm good. They're going to no parking. Blinkers on. I'm good. They're parked, so it's like a one-way with street parking. It's thin anyways. They'll stop in the middle and put their blinkers on. Nah, it's good. I'm good. Like, it's a get-out-of-jail-free card. And I think for the most part it works. That's why people keep doing it, and that's crazy to me. Right? There'll be like a driveway you got into, but there'll be a guy parked in front. It's cool. I got my blinkers on, bro. It's all good. You know, fuck you, right? But it's like, it's wild to me. And I don't know, maybe I'm just too much of a wuss or like just compassionate towards people. I never do that. Like, I don't even know how to, like, what constitutes the right situation to use your blinkers, like your hazards. I thought it meant like if your tire popped and you're moving slow to the side of the road, or if you're on the side of the road, not just like, nah, I'm going to run in here. I'm going to park across 6 spots. Let me throw my blinkers on. It's all good. And it's so funny, man. But like, that's like the first thing. Like, people do not give a shit about any of that stuff, man. Like, blinkers are on. Fuck you. It's all good. And it's hilarious. The next thing, and this one, like, it bothers me more than anything, and I got to really keep myself in check with this one. It's like, so I don't know if like you got to kind of pay attention to like the crosswalk like countdown for the walk don't walk sign. You know, it shows like the seconds counting down. And I'll tell you what, man, the seconds in Chicago go faster than the seconds anywhere else on the planet. It'll be like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, yellow, right? Or like and you know what I'm talking about if you've seen it. It's like so fast. So like there's 2 problems that stem from that. One is that red lights get blown more than anything. So you got to be on your toes because the light turns red and there's 4 more people going through it. Just pow, pow, pow. So like if you go right after the fact, like this is how a lot of accidents happen, is that just like red, going through. Like I don't give a shit. So that's a crazy one. But the craziest one, and this is one, like I said, I got to keep myself in check because this does make me feel with a little bit of rage, is right when, and you know what I'm talking about, you're probably going to get that feeling too and probably punch whatever you're by, is when it turns green and it's green for maybe half of a millisecond and the person behind you starts laying on the horn. Holy shit, man. Like, if there's a more rude thing to do to a human being on the planet, maybe the only other rude, like the more rude, I think I use that in the right way, the more rude thing someone could do to another human being is like spit in their face. Other than that, man, like if the light turns green for half a second and you're honking, you are the biggest asshole on the planet. And like, if you're that guy and you do that, then yes, I'm talking to you. You are. Change your ways, because that's not a good way to live. There's nothing that gets that it makes me so mad, man. I do not understand. It's like, who is someone to think that their time is that important that in half of a second you get out of my way? Like, I can get it if like someone's at a red light and they're dicking around on their phone, the light turns and they're still dicking around on their phone again, a little beep beep, like, hey, pay attention, bud, time to go. But like, if I'm prepared, and let's say I'm super prepared, I'm at 10 and 2 and I'm just ready to go, and the light turns for 1 second and you're laying on it, and like, I look in the rearview mirror, fuck you, throwing your hands up, like, I don't know. I hope something bad happens to you, and I don't want to hope that upon anybody, but I really do. And that's the thing, man, is that it's crazy. So people don't give a shit about nothing while they're driving, and especially like if they're turning right on red. Like, if you're walking, like, watch out, because you're going to get smoked. Which leads me to a couple of the other of these savages out here, and that's the people that aren't even in cars. They're the most deadly. So there's 3 groups of people that are the most deadly on this. All right. So number 1 is people on bikes. All right, like, they don't give a shit. And God bless every one of them, because they are fearless, man. Like, I would not ride a bike around Chicago, because there's a lot of people not paying attention, going quick, trying to beat lights, trying to this, that, and the other. And then you're on a bike in a tight quarters. So good, man. Like, good for you, but holy smokes. But again, they don't give a shit, right? So, like, that's a savagery coming through. I mean, they're running through lights. Sometimes they're popping in and out. They're expecting to get the same respect as a car. But here's a spoiler alert. If you get in an accident on a bike and you're a car and you're the bike, you're going to lose. You're not the same as a car. Then there's just pedestrians, right? So pedestrians, like, this is another thing that irks me a little bit. And please don't be this guy. So, like, let's say that you get the walk sign on the crosswalk. You definitely have the right to walk, and you should. But if there's people trying to make a right or turn left to like what you're walking across, and you don't like put a little pep in your step, you like continue to move slow, you're dicking around your phone, you are part of the problem, and you're a dick. And I see this happen all the time. There's this pretty big intersection near my house called Six Corners, and I got to turn right most of the time to get, like, let's say I'm coming back from the gym or doing something, and like, there'll be people that just have no regard for people that are looking to make that turn. They're just like walking slower than shit, or messing around on their phone, or doing whatever. It's like, man, like, if everyone was just a human being, we would get along so much better. If people just had a little bit of mindfulness of other people, man, this planet would be the shit. But we don't, so I guess I gotta live with it every day. And then you couple that with homeless folks. All right, so again, this is not me bashing on homeless people. I feel bad for these folks. Like, I have a home, right? Like, it's sweet. Like, if you don't, that sucks. But some of these folks, man, like, and I think, like, where are the police on this to, like, protect these people? Because some of these people, like, just stand in the middle of the road when there's a green light going on. Like, there's this one guy specifically. He's, like, an older man, and he does not walk too well. And he'll just stand in the middle of the road. And, like, I get very scared every time I see him. I'm like, oh, please, God, don't let this guy get hit. Don't let this guy get hit. Don't let this guy get hit, right? And, like, he's not the only one. These, like, some of these folks will just come on out and walk, you know what I mean? And, like, hey, if it's at a red light, whatever, that's cool. I get it. Like, if you're trying to get help, you know, I get it. But, like, once the light turns green, people aren't moving, or they're standing in the way of cars, or doing whatever. Like, that shit's crazy. It's just gonna, like, I don't know. So, all in all, man, I think just like Chicago, the whole street scene is from top to bottom, man, it's filled with savages. If it's parking, if it's giving parking tickets, if it's the infrastructure of the streets, if it's the drivers, is it the pedestrians, if it's the homeless folks not getting out of the way, it's all crazy. Why do I live here? I don't know, because it's awesome. So I guess you got to take the good with the bad, man. But just be aware that Chicago is the land of savages, you know, and you gotta be ready, and you gotta know what's going on. But I've been thinking about that a lot lately, because I noticed myself just in the car, if I'm not listening to Purple Rain, thinking about, man, Prince had it right on, and with Megan, that baby making music, then I'm thinking about, man, I can't believe that this shit's going on. And if I am in a good mood and not thinking about it, then I go dunk, and that means I ran over a pothole, then I get reminded, right? So that's what I want to talk about today. And sorry for ranting, but it's just kind of funny to me. And if you've experienced these things, you know what's up. If not, whatever, you have. Chicago. All right. And then I want to talk about it was cool. So thanks to everyone that's been giving me feedback. Obviously, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. You could probably tell I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but if you're listening to it, thank you so much. So some people have actually been giving me some feedback, so it's been awesome. So they've been hitting me up on the electronic mailboxes. So it's bullchatpod@gmail.com. And my buddy Bugs hit me up, and he had some suggestions. Because I said, hey, if anyone ever has suggestions or some stories to talk about or whatever, let's fucking hit me up and let's go. And so he hit me up, and he reminded me of some funny stuff. But so Bugs and I met back in the day in kindergarten. So I don't know if you went to Wakanda kindergarten back in the early 90s, you remember how it was. So it was in the high school. And I remember I used to have this sweet ass Ninja Turtles. I don't know if you guys remember those hats. They would be like an equivalent to like what like sand volleyball players wear now, or maybe like cyclists. They're like they came in neon colors, and they had like a kind of a bill that could flip up if you wanted to or not. And then like it might have been a snapback or it was like stretchy. But anyhow, I had this sweet ass Ninja Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze one, and it was hot pink, and it said Ninja Turtles Secret of the Ooze, and it was awesome. And in kindergarten we had like these little cubbies, and then I remember there was this kid Philip Bugs was in my kindergarten class, and there was this kid Philip in there, and he looked like a rat. At least we used to say he looked like a rat. He for sure had the rat tail haircut. And if y'all don't remember that, it was like a very white trash haircut a lot of people had back in the day. Like, I don't know, again, who started it, but it became a thing. And I had one, and everyone did. And there was, like, difference. It was like a form of a mullet. So, like, mullets were like a thing. You know what I mean? And this is pre-Billy Ray Cyrus. Remember fucking Achy Breaky Heart? That dude's mullet was legit. And people still have this shit. But I remember, so there's a few different ways how the rat tail / and or mullet worked. So there was like the mullet that was like a normal mullet, you know, business up front, party in the back. And that would be kind of flowing the whole time. But then there was a variation. And this might have been the mullet I had. Because I'm trying to think back like how shitty it was when I had it. And my grandparents used to have this like picture, like a family photo. And back in like the early 90s, they were the worst. It was me, my sister, my mom, and my dad, and I think we were all wearing color coordinated shirts, and it was like white shirts, like black like splotches on it, be it a polka dot or like it looks like paint fucked up and blew up on you or like whatever. And I'm standing there, and I remember the specifics. I made me like put my thumb in my pocket with the rest of my hand hanging out. Anyways, I had a haircut, but then like you would do is you would pick a section in the back of your head, and it might not have flown all the way from the top of your head to the back of your head, but somewhere in the back of the head, it started again, and that what grew out long, and that's what kind of created a mullet. And I for sure had that in that picture, and I for sure had it in Little League on the Reds dynasty as well. So that was one thing. It was a mullet, and what separated was the mullet went full, like the back of your hairpiece, so from like ear to ear. Then there was a rat tail, and a rat tail. This fucking kid Philip had a rat tail. There's this other kid that was in my third grade class that was a badass. His name was George Ford. He had a rat tail too. And if you've seen the new It, oh Jesus, Leroy's coughing something up. If you saw the new It, I believe the kid that like killed, spoiler alert, the kid that killed his dad, Henry, the psycho guy, I'm not sure what his would classify. He might have a mullet, but it might be a straight up rat tail. What a rat tail did though, it was like a portion of your neck. It was usually right in the back, like the nape, I believe you would call, of your neck. And it was just a little tail that hang off that your hair grew longer. And you could fucking go for an inch or you can go 9 inches. It depends what kind of a psychopath you were. But I remember that asshole, Philip, he had a pretty long rat tail. And I don't know, Bugs can hit me up, and I might be remembering this wrong. This was like years ago. But that son of a bitch stole my Ninja Turtles pink badass Secret of the Ooze hat. I remember that. And then Bugs and I forgot what he did, but he let me know that it was up. And we hated that kid after that. We might have concocted a plan to get it back. I don't know if it ever fell through, but that's how long I known Bugs. So, anyways, he was hitting me up, like some topics to talk about. And he was reminding me about some funny stuff, which I definitely put in the memory bank to think about later. But something he talked about, and I think it might help. If you didn't listen to the third podcast, I talked about like ways you could like crush life and do things well. And again, you don't have to listen to me, but it might help. And I got a lot of good feedback on it, and you should definitely check it out. But this one kind of was about, and it kind of made me feel good because it was one of my peers or whatever that knew me since I had a mullet, and when I was a fuck up, like asking me, maybe giving some tips to help people with like a positive mindset. And what he was talking about is now that, you know, there's that daylight savings time, which just happened. So days are shorter and the nights are longer. And like, how do you still get shit done or stay like kind of motivated, which I think is like a pretty good like topic to talk about, because like a lot of people I think get depressed or less productive or can kind of fall in funks when it comes into like daylight savings time. So let me tell you about how mindset can change. So back in the day, daylight savings time was my favorite. So first of all, the Saturday night for daylight savings time was the best because at 2 o'clock in the morning, it turned back to 1 o'clock. So you got an extra hour in the bar. And let me tell you what, that extra hour in the bar, I don't know what it was, if it just brought out all the creeps that knew that was going to happen that night or whatever, but the amount of damage that could be done in that hour was fucking catastrophic. And you could get real, real weird. And it usually did. And crazy shit happened, and I loved every minute of it. However, not anymore. Here used to always be my excuse too. So if you haven't gotten the gist yet, I used to have what we would call a drinking problem. And it's kind of funny. Like now I can go out anytime or just at the house or do whatever, and I could have like 2 beers and be like, all right, that was good. So when I was like throughout my 20s for the most part, I could not do that. And I think I think that's what would institute a problem, right? Like I went 0 to fucking blacking out. That was the only option. So like, if we were going out, and my buddies and I were going out to have beers, like I couldn't just go out and have like 2 beers. Like, nah, I'm gonna go home. It was fun hanging out. Like I couldn't be like a normal functioning adult. I had to, if we were going out to drink beers, I did not drink to have fun. I drank to black out and not know what the hell was going on, which is for sure not a good way to drink. You know what I mean? And that was different. A lot of my friends when we were out drinking, I mean, granted, that was their mission too, but they would have sub missions like meeting girls or doing it. I didn't give a shit about nothing. I went there to just turn off. So to help my drinking problem, daylight savings helped a lot with that, because what would happen was in Chicago during daylight savings, it gets dark at like 4:30. And that's the afternoon, okay? But here's Randy Paddock at 23 years old till whenever's fucked up logic. Well, the sun's down and it's nighttime, so at the nighttime, it's okay for us to go to the bar and get fucked up because it's nighttime. So that was my logic. So for all of the winter months, like you could catch me at Cover 2 at 4:42 p.m. shooting rumplements like a psychopath on a Tuesday, because my justification was, hey, it's nighttime. Of course this is happening. And nighttime would then become like 17 hours, man. And it was just crazy times. So that's how I used to think. And that is not a way a productive human being thinks. And if you do think like that, there's nothing wrong with that. Good on you. You're just not going to be productive. In my business, they have this saying. It says, when your days become more important than your nights, you know you're on the right track. And I think that's a true statement for the fact that I've kind of seen that in my own life develop, that where like I started thinking more about like my days and how I could be productive, as opposed to where I was blacking out, what street bench or fucking booth was I sleeping in, and what poor little girl was going to have to take me home and try to fix me. Like my life got feeling a lot better, a lot more on track. So like I think here's some ways to maybe still get shit done. So I'm telling you guys, I think there's like power in, and I was talking about this last week, like there's power in like setting goals and writing shit down, putting pen to paper, and getting stuff accomplished, especially when you know you have a shorter day. So, like, it doesn't matter when the sun goes down or whatever. If you have, like, a list of stuff to accomplish, like, and you're checking it off, these are, like, little confidence builders all throughout the day, and you're going to feel at the end of the day that you have way more accomplished. So I'm always a fan of that. Like, I plan my week out every week. Like I have a planner. I write shit down, like what I'm going to do for work. I write in my workouts. I write in when I'm going to pay bills. I write when I'm going to go grocery shopping. I write in when I'm not going to do shit. Like I write it all down. So I just really plan everything out. And then that way, when my week starts, I can kind of turn my brain off and I just kind of stick to the plan because there's always going to be little shit that pops up. And it's a lot easier to deal with when you're not forgetting things or shit's getting taken care of. And then throughout the day, I have a mini checklist and I'm checking stuff off. So I'm feeling accomplished. So instead of like at 4:30, 5 o'clock at night, I'm like, oh my God, I'm depressed because it's dark out. Like I'm still doing shit and feeling accomplished. And then if it's put pen to paper, like it has to get done. Like that is the deal that I'm making with myself. So what this does, here's the biggest thing, like, people tend to like get out of shape or something in the winter, and I don't know why. And the why is that our lazy inner bitch is in full-fledged mode because the sun's gone. Like, the sun, it gives us vitamin D, and then it releases dopamine. It makes us feel happy, so it's nice. So when it's not there as much, we're naturally going to be a little bit more like pessimistic and depressed. But also, it's colder, so we don't want to go outside, and it's dark. So we get lazy. So a lot of people give up on, their goals of like going to the gym after work or like cooking food because like there's just so much more of our lazy inner bitch flowing that it's easier. Like if I get home, so let's say for me, for instance, like let's say I'm going to go work out at night. Like I get home after work, like after sitting in traffic, like let's say 6:30, 7 o'clock, it's been dark for a while. I just been bored as fuck sitting in a car and it's dark as shit, and I get home, and the last thing I'm going to want to do is like change my clothes and go back out and go to the gym. So like if I don't have like stuff written down where it's important to me, I made that deal to myself, it's very easy just to, I'll get them next time. Or maybe I'll wake up early and do something or whatever bullshit I'm going to tell myself at that time. Whereas if I have it written down, it needs to get done. Like I'm like, I'm being a little bitch right now. Fuck, all right, I'm going to get up and do it because I got to check it off my list. Because if I look at my lists day to day and I see more check marks than X's, I feel good about myself. Whereas if I see more X's than check marks, I don't feel so good. So I think like that's one thing. Another thing is like just really having a sense of urgency throughout my day. So knowing that there's only X amount of time during the day. So like moving with a purpose throughout the day with everything I do and not slugging around. Like, so just like having a pep in my step all day long and just really setting that mood for myself and having my own energy and bringing my own energy to everything. Like that's what I got to do. Another thing is like, don't be a lazy sack of shit on the weekends. Like go out and fucking live. Here's the problem, man. Like there's this shit called binge watching that I'm sure everybody does. That is the best and the worst thing on the planet. Why? Like some people spend a day and like I'll see they're on social media. Oh my God, dude, watch Stranger Things for 9 hours. Fuck yeah. Like what if you walked outside after hour 9 of binge watching Stranger Things and got plowed by a truck and you're dead? So your last day on the planet, you spent laying on your ass, probably farting into your couch, eating bullshit, watching fucking a bunch of kids fight monsters. That was your last day on the planet. Like, would you be pumped going to heaven or hell or wherever the hell you're going with that? I'd probably want a mulligan, right? So, like, I know it's a bit morbid or whatever, but you got to think like that. So, like, do something every day, especially if you have free time on the weekends. So binge watching's fine, like write it in the schedule. And when you binge, watch 2 episodes or maybe 3. And if you're going to do it, like do it at night. Don't do it midday. And don't waste a whole day doing that shit, man. It's crazy to me. Like go out and do something if it's just walking. You know what I mean? Like the fall days are nice. Like if you got a dog, walk your dog. If you got a cat, walk your cat. If you got a kid, walk your kid. If you got nothing, walk yourself. Like breathe in some fresh, brisk air. Like look at the world, man, and find some good shit out there. And like, man, that's awesome. Like that's pretty. I appreciate this awesome planet we live on. Or kind of be on the lookout for people doing good on each other and be like, man, that's awesome. People are still alive. Like get your friends involved, man. Like don't let them be bummers too. Like go out and do some shit. You know what I mean? And it does, like, if it's day drinking, that's fine. Just make sure you're bar hopping so you're moving around a little bit. You know, if it's watching sports, do that. But, like, get around people more and more. It's going to help you do that. It's going to help you to stay positive and stay excited throughout the time. You know, like, maybe start a hobby. I think everyone should have a hobby, man. Like, idle hands are the devil's plaything. It's very true. So, like, for me, this is a new hobby for me, and it gets me excited. I get excited to do it every week. It's not hard to commit to something if you're excited about it. So if people listen to this or not, I don't give a fuck. It's fun for me to do. So I have this as a hobby. I like to go to jiu-jitsu. That's a hobby. I like to go to the gym. That's a hobby. I like to read. That's a hobby. So like, if you have hobbies, you feel like you're improving. You feel like you're doing something new. You're challenging yourself. You're moving forward, and it's making you feel better, making you feel more productive. And at the end of the day, as humans, we want to be productive. It makes us feel good. So why not feel good? You know what I mean? And don't look at it like it's nighttime. It's not nighttime. When the sun goes down, it doesn't mean it's night. It means it's daytime with no sun, which means that I got to be extra strong and bring the energy to get shit done. And when you do, when it's truly nighttime and you're laying your fucking head on that pillow, you will feel like an accomplished champion. You will feel awesome, and that's living, boys and girls. That's living. So, Boogs, thank you very much for that, my man. And my buddy Scott Schreier, he hit me up too, was giving me some positive feedback. So, and I got some more shit that Boogs hit up that's going to be funny I'm going to talk about. So, again, if any of you guys have any stories you want me to talk about, or any, things you want tips on, or some things to discuss, or ever want to be on here, like, we could figure out how to talk a couple of people in here. We're going to have beers and talk some shit. I don't give a fuck. Hit me up. Bullchatpod, that's BULLCHATPOD @gmail.com. Follow me on the social media, son. Puglife847 on Instagram. rpaddock on Snapchat. At Randy Paddock on Twitter. Again, I don't know how the fuck to do it, so give me some more followers. We'll figure it out. And we'll keep it going, man. Listen to it if you like it. Awesome. Tell people about it. I'm trying to help here, man. Like Thug Rose said, I'm just trying to do my part of making humans feel better, man. And let's feel good. And this week, when you're out and about doing shit, focus on positives. Focus on bringing the energy. And if someone pisses you off, fuck it. Who gives a shit? Like, focus on what you can control. Like, kill somebody with kindness. Tell someone you care about you love them. Don't binge watch fucking Netflix for 20 hours in a day and then be pumped about it. You did not live, motherfucker. You died a little that day. Do some good shit, and I'll talk to y'all again. So put this one in the books.